Hello, and welcome to A Star to Steer Her By, the Star Trek podcast.
Oh, ow!
The Star Trek podcast.
The only one.
The one. This is episode 94.
Woo!
My name's Jake, and I'm joined by...
Chris.
Ames. And Caitlin.
And an annoying mowing neighbor.
And an annoying. Yeah, there are lawnmowers, so we are sorry. I am sorry. There may be a lawnmower from time to time.
But we're on a tight schedule today.
Grapes and grapes.
Yes.
We can't plan their plans.
Yes,
so.
this is true.
Although maybe before the next one we should sabotage their lawnmower and weed whacker.
Well, they'll be done by then. This week on A Star to Steer Her By, we'll be talking about 2 episodes of Star Trek.
What?
Yeah. The first one is Suddenly Human. In Suddenly Human, the Enterprise rescues a drift ship from an alien culture that is...
He's just parked
They
right next to
beam
the window
over
now.
and they find 4 young alien males...
Talarians.
And 1 human male. They beam them all back, and they're like, "Why is there this human?" So they're trying to talk to the human kid, and he's like, and he starts going.
To me, it sounded more like a really bad wolf impression.
Yeah. So anyway, the kid, the human kid, turns
Raised
out.
by wolves.
Well, it turns out that's pretty much it. So the long story short. He was Jesus. Long story short, he was a little piece of shit. No,
No, you're not wrong.
his parents were killed in an attack by the Talarians, and then, according to Talarian culture, if you slay an enemy, you get to keep their kid.
Well,
Only if your kid was slain by enemies first.
Yeah,
or something.
quid pro quo. No.
Eye for an eye.
Yeah, there we go.
I have a coupon for 1 kid.
Yep. So basically, the guy that was leading the attack on the human colony
Endar?
adopted the child of the 2 killed humans and raised them as his own.
And gave him a new name, even though he was already like 7 years old and answering to his own name, probably?
It's a dumb name.
Yeah, he was Jeremiah Rosa, whatever. So, of course, the Enterprise crew is like, well, shit, we gotta bring this kid home. He's a human. He should be with his own kind. His grandma is my boss, so, we want to make sure this is right. But then the Talarians show up and like, no, you're stealing my kid.
This is war.
This is war. We'll fuck you up. And then the Enterprise is like, yeah, we could totally kick their ass. And then in the end, it's like, well, let's just ask the kid. And the kid's kind of like, yeah, no, I want to stay with the only family I've ever known, which is the Talarians. So fuck off. And
But then they're like, have you heard of ice cream?
And racquetball.
yeah, and he's like, let me see.
And pieing Wesley in the face.
So although he is tempted by all of the great things that he sees in the Enterprise, he was turned off by the fact that women are allowed to be in positions of power and decided to go and live with his misogynist dad, the Talarian.
A choice that a lot of men would make if they had the chance.
Probably. Okay, and then in the following episode, Remember Me!
Is this week.
Beverly Crusher is joined by her old friend, Dr. Dalen Quace, who, it doesn't really matter, because as soon as he shows up, he vanishes! He was there, and then he's not. And everyone's pissed off. Everyone's trying to figure out what the fuck happened. Where's Dinner Quace? So they're looking for Dalen Quace, and while they're looking for Dalen Quace, other people start disappearing.
Mostly doctors and
Mostly
nurses.
doctors.
Which is fine with me.
People that are close to Beverly start
I
disappearing.
wish they all left.
But then we find out that, like, a whole 2/3 of the ship's complement has also disappeared. But here's the weird thing. Only Beverly is aware of this. Everyone else is like, yeah, we've always only had 200 people.
Here's the weird
100
thing.
people on board.
Troy is still here.
Wasn't there a movie starring Julianne Moore that was like this, where her like kid got aliened away, but like no one believed her,
I don't know.
and then they did?
The Big Lebowski.
Called The Forgotten or something.
Maybe.
No idea. Possibly. So anyway, as time goes on, the crew keeps disappearing, and only Beverly is aware that they were ever there. Everyone else is kind of like, no, Worf? What's a Worf? Until eventually it is just Beverly and Picard's like, And she's like, does it make any sense that, we'd have this giant ship and only us and no crew? And he's like, we've never needed a crew before, and it's really weird.
We do need all these chairs.
We need all the chairs. So it makes total sense to Picard that there's only 2 of them, but Beverly is not having it. Eventually, Picard also disappears, so it's just her on the giant ship. And then the computer's like, "Hey, the universe is like a kilometer across." And she's like, "That's weird." I remember it being
that
bigger.
seems wrong.
I remember it being larger before. Jump to alternate universe, where Wesley's experiment has gone horribly wrong and sent his mother into a pocket universe created by a warp bubble, and they can't figure out how to get her back until enter the Traveler.
Deus Ex
The Traveler. You remember him from Where No One Has Gone Before. He's a weird dude that vanishes sometimes and can do crazy things and thought and matter and all this.
It's like a spacey Tom Bombadil.
Yeah. So he shows up and he's like, "Listen, Wesley, the magic is in you, and I just need to get it out. Let me go inside and find it for you." They do a little hanky-panky in the engine room.
Yikes.
And they open up a vortex. And
Is that what they're calling it these days?
and she jumps out of
Wesley's ass.
Out of Wesley's asshole. And is rescued from the pocket universe. And now she's back in the regular universe where everybody exists again.
Yay.
So that's nice. So there you go. That's what happens.
Yeah. Not bad this week.
Yeah.
So while you were describing these episodes, I was thinking about Suddenly Human, and recently, so like you all know about incels.
Oh yeah.
It's the guys that are like losers.
Involuntary, yes. So it's actually funny because someone once said, like posted online somewhere, that like just the idea of being involuntarily celibate is actually like an oxymoron, because celibacy is usually a choice to abstain, and being, whatever, involuntarily celibate is not a thing.
I didn't know that it stood for something.
Yeah, incel stands for involuntarily celibate, meaning we keep putting in nice to get sex, but it doesn't work.
We want to bang you, but you won't let us.
Gross. So
isn't anybody? So does that mean that like anybody under the age of 16 is an incel by definition?
No, because they're not angry, women-hating fuckwads necessarily yet. Give them time.
Of course, other than the kids that are 16 that are already having sex, in which case they're awesome.
I was under 16 when I first had sex.
Oh, look at me.
It was not very good.
Oh,
it was very upsetting.
It's not even very good after that. Yeah.
Well, it depends.
Depends. I'm saying like first times early.
Yeah, no, it was awful. Anyway, I read this thing recently, and a lot of people like argued that it might have been fake. It was like fictionalized, whatever. But this guy basically posted like, I got arrested because I stalked a girl.
Oh, I saw you posted this. Yeah, I read that.
And my dad said that like it was her fault for not liking my attention because she's obviously a dumb whore or something.
Oh yeah, I saw that.
And so then in this episode, not to jump straight to the end,
he got banned from the Wendy's where she works.
Yeah, you did read this. So I don't know if it's real. It might have been doctored, but it does sort of remind me. I feel like
people do it, so that part is real.
Well, right, and I always feel like the parents are always defending them, like, oh, they were picked on, it was society, it was this, it was that. Well, I kind of feel like this kid, attacking Picard and then having his dad, like, defend him and blame everybody else made me think of incels. That's all. Nothing else to see here. It just occurred to me as you were describing it.
I feel like this was it was a good idea, this episode, but I had 2 problems.
Just 2?
1, Johnny Kid Boy couldn't act to save his life.
Truth. But could this be the Vulcan problem where he sort of wasn't really supposed to have a lot of emotions?
So... No, because his dad had shitloads.
Okay.
I think the species, they're a warrior culture. They have very strong emotions that they wear on their sleeves.
But he's also like 14 years old and doesn't quite...
Yeah.
It sounds like if, oh no, we're feeling threatened, therefore we do the screeching for a while. It's like, how does that help you at all? How is this part of your culture that...
Well, it annoys people.
I'm distressed, therefore...
People do tend to walk away when we start doing this, because they're just like, Jesus Christ!
No, but I think this kid was just a bad actor.
Yeah, well... Probably.
And 2, there really wasn't a case on the human side.
No, I mean, there kind of was. Like, basically their argument was like, hey, you stole this baby and you should have given him back a long time ago. I mean, that was the case.
I think another part of the case, and this is something that I guess a lot of fans responded to very negatively, and they were really upset with this episode, is that there was some possible child abuse that may or may not have actually happened. They kind of
And they never
skirt around
clarified it either.
Yeah.
They were like, "Oh, it might have been child abuse," and he's like, "Oh, "Yeah, right. He was a kid. He broke his everything. What?
He walked into a door. He fell down some stairs. He fell down some stairs.
He made me do it."
There was a broken arm, some fractured ribs, and a concussion.
Every kid in the world, I mean, except me, I never broke anything, but I feel like if your kid plays football or if your kid plays any sport at all, they're going to break something eventually. A concussion can easily be explained by football. In high school, a broken arm, absolutely.
Well, and in this culture...
Broken ribs.
In their culture, again, they're clearly like pseudo-Klingons.
Yeah.
I don't doubt that their fucking playtime is super dangerous by human standards.
Yeah, of course.
And, maybe
he's still human, so he's not built for it necessarily, so he's more susceptible to...
You've seen modern playgrounds, they're all, like, padded and shit now.
Yeah, no,
my first playground was over a bed of rocks.
Yeah.
Same. But monkey bars. They put monkey bars over that shit. Why don't you give them something safe to land on? Nah.
Yeah.
I mean,
Fuck
also,
it.
like,
if they're not strong enough, they don't deserve
But it wasn't
not
like...
to have rocks in their shoes.
It wasn't like, he's clearly had repeated breaks and this and that. It's like, you've identified 3 major injuries, yes. But again, injuries that any Earth kid could sustain if they played fucking Parisi squares.
Or again...
Football, yes, but in the future it's Parisi squares.
So
I just took the father at his word because there was no textual evidence otherwise. So yeah.
But we can't trust them. We don't know if we can trust these people.
Well, and I'll tell you what that made me think of.
Yeah?
This made me think very much of fathers trying to get custody during a divorce. And I'll tell you why. So there's a lot of he said, she said in divorces or in custody cases in general. I knew someone back in the day and actually I know someone now. Actually, this is basically the same situation. This fellow who was a family friend was accused by the wife, the ex-wife, of sexually abusing his children. Now, he didn't because there was no proof. She never called the police. There was nothing. And I honestly know him and I just don't believe it. And I don't think anyone else believes it. And I think the kids have been like, no, that literally never happened. But when they were little, they weren't, But the point is, even if it was something less serious than that, a lot of scrutiny goes into a father's case for having custody of children. At least they used to in the 90s. My parents got divorced when I was 7, so that would have been like 92, 93. And my dad had to fight in court for like 3 years just to get joint custody. So for me, there were lots of shades of fathers not getting custody, fathers not being believed about, again, normal injuries that would occur if your kid was playing football in high school. So that's what this sort of felt like to me, it was very much like a child custody case, much like we would have on Earth during a divorce situation. And again, obviously, if it's something serious like sexual abuse, then yes, of course you have to look with more scrutiny. But the idea of oh yeah, he can see his kid, but there has to be a chaperone. A lot of fathers have that with, what is it called? Supervised visitation and all this kind of shit. So that was what it was feeling like a lot to me.
Yeah. It just struck me as there was no reason not to believe him. Again, especially considering the culture.
Yeah.
It's a wonder he doesn't have more injuries, frankly.
Now, here's a question, right? So you sound like you are in favor of giving the kid back to the Talarians, yeah?
Yep.
Would the story have been different if the parents or one or both of his birth parents had survived?
Good question.
Yes. For me, yes.
I'd have to think about that.
Because technically, half of his life was spent with his real parents, and the other half with these people.
I think he spent more with the Talarians.
I thought he was 14, and
apparently he's
14
10 years ago.
Oh, and they said the breaks were from 7 years ago, which means, holy shit, means he was doing these fucking ridiculous games at 7.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, you're right, he was definitely with them longer. Yeah, I don't know.
Does that matter? If it's his...
I feel like if your birth parents are alive and they, if you
actually want you back.
Right, well, right, if you lost touch with them for reasons that were beyond their control, i.e., I don't necessarily think that someone who puts a kid up for adoption when they're born, because they don't want them, has any right to them when they're older. But
this kid, in that case, it was a kidnapping. I mean, it is a kidnapping, right?
Right, yeah.
So
yeah, he was assumed dead.
Yeah. So
Well, and again, that's the case. The case isn't why did you raise and keep this child alive? It was like why did you not report this child?
yeah, I think it's very black and white. I think it's this child was kidnapped
Yeah.
and held, whether or not he was treated well or assimilated into the culture. It doesn't change the fact that he was kidnapped and concealed from his
Family, because he does have
rightful
family
for 10 years.
See, for me, what sort of complicates it is is the assimilation.
Well, it's a different type of socialization. He's not ready to be reintroduced into human culture because he doesn't know any aspects of human culture. Like, he wasn't old enough to have retained any of that.
Yeah.
He's been raised in this totally different... and that's what complicates it, is that it's, different worlds, different species, Well,
that's right. For me, it's he has outright said, I don't want to go back. So it's
Well, also so even though he is at the, quote, age of decision, is that what they call it?
Yeah.
In their culture?
Yeah, what is the age of decision in...
Yeah, is it
Yeah,
still
I'm
18?
sure. I'm
on
assuming it's
Earth?
still, it's probably still 18 or somewhere abouts.
Well, 16 I think is usually in... 16 or 17 is the age of consent type of...
That's when you get to bang.
Yeah, but that's because you have been proven to have the ability to make your own decisions.
Driving
If
Now,
your parents,
usually-
if your parents got divorced and you were 16 and you said, I want to live with my mom, they'd probably be like, all right, you're going to live with your mom.
Yeah, so
then."
once the kid is older, they have a little more say. But even so,
Well, they were asking me who I would have preferred
But
when
again,
I was 7.
You're
so
also talking about somebody who has been under the constant influence of another culture. What I would not even consider what he says valid. I mean,
Stockholm Syndrome, what's her name
they
says.
even brought that up.
But that's just it, though. He was raised by that culture. Why should the rules of his birth culture apply?
Because he was a prisoner?
Was he?
I think he was.
I think the fact that he was kidnapped doesn't mean he wasn't raised in their culture necessarily.
I'm
he
not,
was forced into their culture.
Let's say so.
Well, yeah, but if everybody else was dead on planet and they took him in to keep him from dying, is that really kidnapping?
Well, there's also
or is that a mercy?
hey, Federation, we blew up your.
We killed
outpost.
all your
Also,
adults.
by
Here's
the
a
way,
kid.
That's just it, though. You don't call up in a state of war to be like...
BTW, you want this kid back?
Yeah, I don't. But I would think that in a war, if you took captives, among them children, after the war, regardless of who won,
he's not just a captive; he's like a POW.
Yeah, he's
point.
a POW.
Yeah,
you would return the prisoners.
But it's different when you're dealing with adult people who you captured in the line of duty versus
Are these people
a
still
3-year-old or something.
No,
they've been at
Not with
peace
the
for
Federation,
ages.
anyway.
Yeah, they had been at peace, and that's something that Picard actually says. Is it really worth having another war? Because
it also sounds like they probably. My guess is that they got the jump on that colony. It sounds like the colony was in their territory.
Yeah, they thought they were trespassing,
and then they surprise attacked it, and that's why they were able to win.
Mm-hmm.
But considering they had what sounded like basically laughable armaments.
Yeah, you could take them.
Yeah, that was a weird
choice. how was there ever a war where you stood toe to toe with the Federation? You rinky-dink fucks.
Well, they would do tricks like guerrilla tactics, sending out a fake distress call and then blowing up the ship.
I think they probably just nuked it from orbit.
Probably
Because when you think of it,
No, but that was specifically they mentioned at the beginning. That is a trick they were known for, which is why they were sort of reticent at first to send an away team. Because Data was like, they used to pull this shit all the time, guys.
I don't know. I think there's some nuance to this, especially where it doesn't sound like he was mistreated. But I just feel like it's a case of what is essentially a prisoner of war not being returned, and I could see the Federation. I'm very surprised. I feel like Picard's really gonna get it from Grandma Rosa.
that's true.
Grand Admiral Rosa.
Gonna get quite a tongue lashing, eh?
Yeah, I would suspect, because she's just been told, hey, a member of your family, which you thought was all were dead, is actually alive, and he's coming home. Great. And then it's all, no, he wants to stay with
We decided to leave him there.
with his captors.
It makes me think of kind of the end of every heartwarming court drama where at the end, the lawyer gives a speech about, they love each other and they belong together and it works out and everybody's happy. But in reality, every courtroom drama like that should be more like Big Daddy, where even though you've had this heartwarming story and they care about each other, who is actually the parent rules over it and it doesn't matter. Like, have you seen Big Daddy?
Years and years ago.
So basically, Adam Sandler winds up with Jon Stewart's kid on his doorstep and starts taking care of him unbeknownst to Jon Stewart, and then eventually he's found out to have, like, taken this kid in, and they're like, nope, sorry, you have to give him back. And he's like, but we've had this great life. And the court's like, LOL, we don't care. They still have to be with his own father, so.
Also, you're Adam Sandler. You're a danger to yourself and the community.
No, they were great together. They learned things from each other, that kid and that guy.
So that's the other thing, too, right? So even if the kid wasn't being abused, per se, in this... I mean, it doesn't change the fact that the values that they're giving him in this culture are antithetical to Federation values.
They are, but that might be all the more reason not... Like, psychologically, could he survive the transition?
I mean...
They give him
fucking
ice cream every day.
Picard almost didn't
Well, that's what I mean, like, just
survive the transition.
the thought of going back caused him to snap so badly he shanked the guy.
Who was his only, like, good role model and
Yeah, but
friend
this-
on
there
board.
was-
He was trying for like a death by cop.
But I mean,
though.
there's
Kinda,
a similar thing with, like, feral children as well, right? We're like...
feral children are fun.
Like-
I got a lot of Charlie X vibes from this guy.
I was gonna bring that up.
Especially
He's like
when
Charlie
they
X
played
without
racquetball.
Charlie X without the creepy powers.
Yeah,
Yeah.
instead he just has creepy everything else.
That
Also-
racquetball game looked fun as fuck, by the way.
Yeah.
I just want to
play
know
that.
why it was
Yeah.
racquetball that, like, triggered his memories finally. That was
It's
weird.
probably the sound of the ball bouncing
Well, that-
around him. Like,
Well, that's what I thought, but then again, he's from a warrior culture. Like, shouldn't every battle cause him to flip
Didn't
out?
he have some memories before playing racquetball?
He was starting to have a few things surface, but that seemed to finally, like, break the dam.
Well, maybe he was just remembering what it felt like to be a human child playing, and he
No,
associated that with
maybe.
his
Yeah,
family.
he was having
and-
fun.
Yeah.
Either way, this kid's going to be fucked up forever.
Oh yeah.
No matter what
But
the
I
outcome
think
was.
for him, the better choice was to send him back to what he thought of as his family.
Yeah, and that is something they would take into consideration. Like
I
they would take into consideration what is best psychologically for the child, and
Possibly. But
No, I mean,
again, I
they-
don't think it was... I also don't think it should have been Picard's decision to make.
no, probably not.
That's true. That's why we need the ship ambassador, which we've
Yeah, or
discussed
the
several
ship,
times
the
now.
ship's lawyer, really. Like, this would have been a
If only
great...
they had
Yeah.
a good counselor on board.
I was joking with Caitlin when we were watching this, like, when he calls Troy in later after he's been trying to be a father figure to her for a bit, he's like, alright, new plan. You wear a fake moustache, he'll think you're a man, you handle this. I'm in over my head.
I would have put him in the holodeck with Moriarty.
There you go. That's a
Yeah,
great
with
father
puppets.
figure.
Actually, I mean, I'm surprised. I think this, like, if we didn't already have the bonding, this would have been
A good Worf
a good
scenario.
Worf scenario. Because they would have more in common.
Yeah, they really should have
They're
had them
both
sit down.
orphans that were raised
Yeah.
by another culture.
Yeah.
They're both
Warrior
orphans of
races.
war, even.
Yeah.
They were both killed in...
They're both
enemy
into
attack.
fighting.
Yeah, warrior culture.
Really,
Their step parents seem to like them.
They
You
probably both like really gross food.
you totally could have had, like, you know, him with Worf doing Worf stuff. Him with Data doing, like, here is everything I've learned about humanity. Let's learn about humanity together. Wesley,
Is that
this is
really
what it's
all-
like to be a normal teenager.
Is
Oh,
that
God.
all? Is that all Data is? He's just like a really advanced speak and spell now.
Kind of.
Was it Elizabeth Smart? Elizabeth Smart. Was that the
The
girl?
abductee?
The abductee that was like Stockholm Syndrome.
I don't remember. I mean, she was definitely an infamous abductee case, but I don't remember much of the
I
aftermath.
looked that up because that kind of I was thinking of that a little bit.
But this is so different.
It is.
She was, like, locked in a small room and abused. Like, he was
Yeah.
allowed...
He was forced to share a room with his dad.
But it sounds like that's probably just normal in
I
that
mean,
culture.
he was sent away on a spaceship at age 14.
Well, that's normal for
Well, his
that culture.
basic training. Spartans used to be sent into their basic training and, taken from their families. And
I mean, hell...
not that I'm saying the Spartans were doing it right.
No, I mean, because they would, oh, this baby's not quite perfect. Throw it off a cliff to die.
Just to clarify, are you talking about that fucking hunchback monster thing from the 300? Because he wasn't just a little weird.
No, I spent in general. Like, didn't they? Did they? I thought they did that in
No,
reality.
yeah, they exposed babies. Of course they did.
If they were, like, imperfect or
Oh, yeah,
something. So,
sure, for
you
sure.
know.
So
did,
all
yeah.
babies? Oh my god.
I know, it's amazing they...
Had a culture.
Yeah.
But yeah, Like, it is very much, like, I guess, more complicated than I originally felt, but I still fall on the side of he had to go back with the
And this is
foster dad.
particularly a nightmare for Picard, who doesn't want to handle children on his ship anyway.
That was getting to watch Patrick Stewart
It got a
make
little-
oh
it got
god
a-
faces.
It got a little too, like, jokey for me.
Eventually,
It's
yeah.
like, great, yeah, we're aware Picard doesn't like kids. You don't have to, like, make a joke out of every single
the
time
whole
he has
episode.
to talk with the kid.
We had like 2 or 3 seasons where Picard's entire character was defined by his dislike for children. Like,
I mean, it was
we've
one
already
of the
done
first
this.
things we learn about him, and yet actually, I was he feels the need to explain that to Troy, but this is Troy we're talking about.
Actually-
Maybe they did this because after him interacting so nicely with his
Renee.
nephew, people were worried
Oh, yeah.
that, he's turned over a new leaf. No,
Nope.
he still hates babies.
No, Renee was blood. He was willing to put up with it.
No, my thought of Troy pretending that she never realized Picard didn't like kids was the best acting I've seen out of her yet.
I wanted them to, as the thing I'd said was like, when it's becoming clear what the plan is going to be, and they're in the conference room, like, we're going to have Picard try to, like, be a father figure. I said they should have cut back to where Picard had been. Instead of him sitting there looking horrified, the chair was just spinning.
And there was a Picard-shaped hole in the door.
That's exactly what he said.
Yep. Cut to the ready room. Like, he's packing, he's trying to shove Livingston's tank into his suitcase. No, his little duffel bag from last week. Get in there, you
And
bastard!
he just dumps Livingston in.
Oh no! Dyingston.
Poor Livingston. Is Livingston around yet, or is it just a terrarium at the moment?
We've seen lots of that fish.
We have? Okay.
Yeah, I think there's a fish. I feel like I've noted a fish.
I'm not calling it Livingston, though. I don't like this. Because I don't think it's stated. Unless it is actually stated on screen, I don't like doing it. Because I don't like...
What would you name the fish?
I would just name it
Picard's
the fish.
fish.
I would call it the fish.
I call it Picard's.
Klaus.
Picard's fish. Because if you keep saying Livingston, I'm going to have no idea who you're talking. I'm going to think, like, who's Livingston?
Well,
Every time they say Livingston, I think of Winston from Overwatch, and I'm like, why would
I'll admit,
that
I
happen?
don't know if that's fanon or what. I read it online somewhere and it kind of
Yikes.
stuck.
Ugh,
That's a gross term,
that
fan.
is a pretty bad term. Fanon. Anyone that says fanon is involuntarily celibate.
Anything else about this?
Oh,
I
probably.
don't know. I think this was really... I mean, it's
I see the
curious
word
because
foreplay.
it is like a...
Yes.
It is an oft overlooked episode, I think, because it's just in the shadow of a lot of really good episodes that happen.
It wasn't a bad episode at all.
But I
wasn't a big fan.
I hate children.
I had
do
a
hate the
lot of
child.
respect for this episode in terms of the moral dilemma that it presents.
Yeah, it's a good... I mean, we've gotten a lot of really good chat out of it.
Yeah,
I know, and there's no answer, which is very difficult.
I think you can legitimately take either side of this, and like there's no real right answer here.
Well,
The real right answer is blast him into space.
I enjoy the emotional father role too quite a bit here because again I feel like, and again maybe just because my own family and divorce and stuff, but I do sort of feel like one of the reasons why they act like the mother is the obvious choice, or they used to, is because they think of like mothers as being more nurturing. But like this man literally they're like, you're gonna go to war for this fucking kid, and he's like, yeah, he's my son. Wouldn't you do the same thing? And it's like, yeah, like that's as much as it's like not a very like it's a weird place that we find ourselves in. Like that to me is a very positive father. This guy obviously fucking loves this kid. You don't bring two cultures to war against each other lightly, one thinks.
Sure.
I don't know. Anyway, I liked it.
Troy tried to give parenting advice off of the 2 days that she had a kid.
Hey, those were
God.
some of the best hours of her life. Ames.
Someone actually cared what she did.
And
Okay.
20 of them were spent sleeping, at least.
So, per Memory Alpha,
Mm-hmm.
it is an unofficial name given...
What, Fanon?
No, actually, it was
Livingston.
given to the fish by the production crew.
Oh.
And he was named for producer David Livingston.
Is he a live,
so
living,
that's-
actual fish?
Apparently.
So that's the actor's name.
I guess so.
Livingston
This
as
is
himself.
like how the dog in 3, I think, was named Fifi Rebozo. It's just what they called it. It just wasn't.
The Klingon
Oh,
dog?
yeah,
Klingon
yeah.
dog.
Star Trek 3. Yes. So I don't know, but I don't know. I've taken to calling him Livingston.
Well, I'm willing to call him by his actor's name. We do that sometimes. Livingston.
What's his last name? Fish?
Yes.
Livingston Fish? I'm going to call him by his last
Livingston
name.
T-Fish.
Livingston. I was gonna say Livingston J Fish, but
Oh.
yes.
I made another note. No one ever gets their fucking ice cream. As
Seriously?
I don't
It's just a
know.
running
Wesley got his ice cream.
Well, because Wesley ordered 2 more banana split. So I don't think they showed.
They both also ended up all over his face.
What you said?
What did I say?
I'll have a fresh banana split and one for my friend here.
I don't remember what I said.
Oh, it was perfect. Without missing a beat, you were like, oh, he's been waiting his whole life to say that.
Yeah.
Oh, because he has a friend.
Friend, yeah.
For my friend.
Imagine
here.
the very
But
next
you just
line
never-
that wasn't shown was Jono saying, "You're not my friend."
Yeah.
And then picking up the banana split and actually pieing him in the face this time on purpose. That was fun too, because Data didn't understand it was funny. And he starts like doing it like, oh, it's like the old pie in the face joke. Whatever.
Yeah.
Yes, I believe you. It's very amusing. Or whatever he says. I was just like, oh, Data, you don't understand humor. It's great.
He's so cute.
But
he also was thinking really hard about his move in 3D chess.
He was.
And I was like, this doesn't seem like Data. Data seems like he would know the right move.
But also he was playing himself.
Oh, I didn't realize he was playing himself.
Oh god, that was the other thing I said.
That was the presumption.
That was the other thing. I said like, oh, this is robot masturbation. He's playing with himself.
Oh no, you didn't say that.
Oh, I didn't?
You must have thought that. No, what you
did I
said was
actually say?
look at this fucking nerd playing chess against himself.
Oh, well, either way.
Or it's good lore playing against evil lore.
Right.
Oh, right, your theory.
Your theory that he's one and the same now.
You're fanning.
My fan.
Because of his double emotions.
Be ashamed of yourself.
I am ashamed.
With your
He's
fanning.
also secretly Plant McCoy.
And Livingston.
And also Beauregard, the plant.
Yes! I miss Beauregard.
We all
me
do.
too. But we got Livingston J. Fish, T. Fish. Livingston J.T. Fish.
There you go.
Livingston Jonathan Taylor Thomas
The fish! I know, I was thinking J.T. Thomas, yeah.
Really? You already mowed your lawn over here.
Why are you back?
Why?
Listen,
Asshole.
he has
Took
to
a
make
break.
sure.
We've returned. We've returned for some reason.
Alright, so speaking of returning, can
Oh,
we...
no, I have one more thing.
Oh, Christ's sakes, I'm just kidding, go ahead.
So Jono tries to stab Picard in the heart.
Oh, yeah.
Luckily, Picard doesn't have a heart.
I didn't see. Did he use the Klingon ceremonial
I
dagger?
assumed
That's
he
what my
did, but I didn't
assumption.
get a good look at it.
Which is another piece of continuity, because that was the dagger that the Klingons gave to him when he was Worf's Chadich.
Oh, nice.
I presume.
I really liked the foreshadowing of it, too. That was like Chekhov's Klingon...
I gotta admit, I know, like you said, Ames, it didn't actually get a bit much, but when he was like putting it back where it was supposed to be, and he picks up the sextant, and he's like, oh, my things.
Don't touch my shit.
Also, I feel like the bust of, I presume, Shakespeare he has on his bookshelf in the background, I don't know if it was the same prop, but it looked a lot like the bust from the 60s Batman series that they would tilt back to push the button
To get to the bat poles.
Yeah.
Well, that's how Picard gets to his Batcave, which is just one deck below.
Yeah.
He actually doesn't even need the pole, but
I mean,
he clings to it and slides down really slowly.
Like we
going,
had-
wee.
like we had a couple weeks ago, Jake, you've got a fucking shuttle bay where the only way to get to the second floor is to leave and take the elevator
Yes.
in the hall, so it wouldn't surprise me.
Now are we ready to transition smoothly into Remember Me?
So smoothly.
I didn't like this episode that much.
Really?
I know
like
Jake
this
loves
I
this
like this
episode.
I
one.
don't know, I just like...
You're not a Gates McFadden fan, and this was almost
I
entirely
guess
Gates
maybe
McFadden.
that's it, I don't really know. I just was kind of like... At first it felt like gaslighting the episode. Which like really annoyed me. Like I was like, why the fuck aren't they listening to her?
And being fair, they did listen to her.
Yeah, gaslighting they'd have to do on purpose.
Yeah, like gaslighting would just... They wouldn't even have taken her seriously.
See,
Oh,
no,
I guess that's
the
true.
Yeah, they
the
would've
warp
been like,
bubble
"You're
was
crazy,
gaslighting
lady."
her.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, in effect, since she created the universe with her thoughts, she was gaslighting herself.
Well, that's internalized misogyny if I ever heard of it.
It is.
There's
Bev.
a little man inside Beverly Crusher.
I have
that's
a note on
gaslighting
that.
her.
I have a note on that. Bev did all her own stunts on this episode.
Oh,
Gates
wow.
McFadden did, and learned, I think, within the next week that she was pregnant.
Oh.
Oh, there was a little man inside of her. Or was it a little
Or
woman?
I didn't check.
Oh.
So
I
the
hope
child
she
survived.
But hey, kudos for doing all her own
Yeah,
stunts. They
yeah.
were a lot of them were pretty cool. The chair thing where they mounted a chair to a wall and had her hang off of it.
Oh, is that
and
what that was?
And then spun it sideways.
Wow.
Everything
Well,
looked
assuming
like
she
did
had
a
a
good job.
wire on or something.
Well, she's
Still,
also
I would know.
she's a very talented dancer.
Yeah.
Like she's a choreographer.
Yeah, that's where she started.
Private dancer.
Interestingly, like her real first name is Cheryl,
Yeah.
and she goes by Cheryl McFadden when she does choreography work. So if you look at like The Dark Crystal, she's credited as Cheryl McFadden.
Is this true?
Yeah.
I never know.
She
with
did
you.
But
Labyrinth too, right?
Or maybe I'm swapping those because I always mix those
Labyrinth
I
has,
mix those two movies up all the time.
Labyrinth definitely has the who do you do. There's some dancing happening.
Yeah,
I
it must have been Labyrinth.
Yeah,
I don't remember much dancing in Dark Crystal.
Yeah.
they may have had movement coaches.
Because I think I've seen pictures of her with David Bowie. So.
Yeah, right. I always swap those movies.
She
in my
does.
You think he dipped into that company ink?
If
One
she's
could
lucky,
hope,
he did.
But her
She also-
acting name is Gates.
Yeah. Although I think early on she used Cheryl for everything, because I want to say she was credited as Cheryl McFadden for her very brief role in the Muppet movie. She's the secretary to the, studio bigwig that gives the Muppets their contract at the end. And she might be credited as Cheryl there. But that's really
Interesting.
early on in her career, so...
That's a pretty good break. Being in the Muppets movie is an early thing, because you feel like the Muppets were big enough to get a movie. That's no small thing, right?
Actually, I think we're going to get to see some of her dance moves later this season.
Do we see any Muppets?
No.
Speaking of, can I make a little tangent? Thank you.
Little
I'll
tangent.
have to make it as small as I can. So, do you guys remember the show Step by Step?
Day by day.
Day by day!
I know that it existed.
Is that the one where the fucking little asshole kid drops his ice cream and then steals the ice cream of the kid next to him and puts it on the top of his cone?
I don't know, like in the fucking opening video.
And that
Don't
fucking
remember.
doofus Cody?
Yes! It is the one with the doofus Cody, and I'm glad you bring up Cody. So, Cody, whose name is Misha something, real life. So before he did that, before he was in that show, he was a black belt in, Taekwondo or some shit.
Okay.
Speaking of, this is me tangenting off of someone using their previous skills in a new venture. So I started watching this recently because all seven seasons are on Hulu, and I remembered having a crush on Cody, and I think the reason why that was is because he was sort of like a human version of Michelangelo, the Ninja Turtle.
Yeah.
And that was very much my jam. So perfect. Plus, he is cute. At any rate. He also took over the role of the kickboxer for Jean-Claude Van Damme in Kickboxer 4. So he's got all this martial arts shit. And I had read this, on Tuesday. And then on Wednesday, I was watching Step by Step, and there's an episode where Dana, who he has a crush on, goes to a seedy bar to see a folk singer that she likes, Arlo Prime. And, of course, guys start hassling her because she's a pretty young lady in a bar she shouldn't be in. And one of the guys gets rough with her, and Cody shows up, and, this guy's motorcycle gang, knows, kung fu? And Cody's like, huh, that's really cool, I could do that, and he starts using his kung fu moves. So as soon as it became apparent to me that he was going to the bar to help Dana, I was like, oh, we're gonna see some black belt action, I'm so excited, and then we did, and it was fucking awesome. So I'm excited to see Gates McFadden using her dancing in Star Trek.
Oh, I
The Next
see.
Generation.
And then they ended up in a warp bubble together.
Sorry, this is important. I was wrong. She was a secretary in The Muppets Take Manhattan, not the Muppet movie.
Much less impressive.
Also, her child did survive her stunts. And Brent Spiner is the godfather.
Oh, isn't that nice?
Yes, it is.
I have another theory that Bev being in a bubble universe is what allows Pulaski to exist.
Ooh.
Because if Bev isn't around, they need a Pulaski. So this was out of order with season 2.
I miss Pulaski. I really liked Pulaski.
Pulaski really grew on me.
Me too.
I did enjoy seeing an actual episode where Bev is a goddamn character.
Yeah,
And a
she-
useful one
something.
besides, yeah.
I did hate, I hate an episode where you only understand what's going on because the character talks to themselves. That gets old
She does do a
really
little
fast.
talking to herself, for sure.
It's like when Geordie's talking to the holodeck. Oh man, show me. I wish Brahms were here so that I could finger bang her a little. But
Yeah.
But also
she's
discover
here?
what's wrong with the Enterprise.
So there was... they at
Priorities.
least had the excuse of her thinking out loud to the computer.
Mm-hmm.
There was, years ago, a Tom Baker Doctor Who...
Oh my god.
where he didn't have a companion for a serial. Because the old show was serialized. So you'd have 4 to 6 episode long stories, usually.
Or 8 to 12.
Sometimes, yeah. But usually by that point, anyway.
Well, war games and...
Anyway.
Get to the point.
So what's funny, though, is...
We had our tangent already.
he spends
Dalek
so
Master
much
Plan.
of the episode just literally talking to himself. And they were like, right, this isn't gonna
Isn't
work.
the doctor kind of crazy?
Well, I was gonna
though?
say, Tom Baker's Doctor, I sort of feel like... only appears to be talking to the companions because they're there. He's probably always basically talking to himself.
But still, they were like, yeah, this isn't going to work. So yeah, I mean, at least Bev had a computer to work off of. And that one time I wasn't talking to you, which I liked.
I did.
Not that she said that angrily, but...
The thing I like about this episode is just how it gets progressively more ridiculous. The things that and like everybody is totally willing to accept that reality.
Yeah, and
of course, we're only two of us on this ship.
Yeah, like I love that.
Yeah, that makes sense. We have stuff in storage or stuff in supplies that could maintain 1,000 people, but that's just for us.
I enjoyed the way she described the people who were missing. You know, tall guy, doesn't talk a lot, whatever.
Smile much.
Doesn't smile much? Yeah, that's it. I liked that. I liked her boiling them down into these, like, really wants to be a real boy.
But doesn't understand jokes.
Yeah.
Doesn't get punchlines. But then you saw her when she had to describe these, like, nurses that we've presumably never seen, and she's like, they're nurses.
My staff, I guess.
Staff for 3 years? No?
I don't know any of their first names.
Salar only has one name.
Well, aside from her.
But anyway, I thought that was fun. Because I kind of wonder, like, I feel like when you're in a thing, it's hard to be subjective about, like, what are these characters? So I wonder, like, how many drafts they had to go through to decide, like, what were these defining characteristics that she would mention.
Troy's was that she liked chocolate.
Yep. Did she actually talk about Troy?
Yes,
I missed
She
that.
mentioned Troy.
I must have zoned out.
Betazoid on the bridge, likes chocolate.
Betazoid on the bridge. Did she say have booze? Really?
Of course she said had.
Oh,
She doesn't say
she's got big old biddies.
Yeah,
Hello.
Yeah. Wesley, terrible at video games and got me trapped in a bubble dimension. That guy.
He's the heart and soul of the whatever she said about the bridge crew that Wesley was involved in. Part of the heart and soul of this crew for the last 3 years.
No, but at that point she was talking about
everybody. I know, but
Picard, you may vanish soon, so we should use this time to have a heart-to-heart about Wesley being. Oh, you're gone. Never. It's never gonna happen, is it? They're never gonna confront their feelings, and also Wesley's past.
Is Wesley actually his kid? Do we ever find out?
It's Jack Crusher.
It's more Fannin?
Yeah, it's a fan.
Okay. I was gonna say,
and it's also kind of a tinfoil hat Fannin.
I think
not really. She keeps trying to confess something to him.
Well, that she loves him or whatever.
Or whatever.
I mean, he was there to comfort her after he had her husband killed.
He comforted all over her face.
I think it would have been funny if, when everyone else was gone, she ran into his ready room and realized the fish was still there. And so just, took the whole aquarium and carried it with, it's you and me against the world, fish!
They find her later, it's like when they find Tom Hanks on the island with his fucking volleyball. Yeah. Wilson! Sorry. It's so sad when he loses Wilson. It's such a bummer, that movie.
I always like when...
I've never seen it.
Oh, that's a hard part, that part.
When he loses his ball.
It's sad.
About Star Trek.
Yeah.
I also like when...
Has Tom Hanks ever been on Star Trek?
Not that
He was supposed to be in First Contact.
They wanted him to be Zephram Cochrane.
That would have been wrong.
We gotta fix that shit. He's gotta be in it. He's gotta be in Star Trek. Go on, Jake.
There's still time.
I liked how, as the universe is beginning to collapse, and the universe is now smaller than the ship.
That's cute.
And it's like, why is the part of the ship missing? And the computer's like, a design flaw in the ship.
Some idiot engineer made the ship bigger than the universe.
Well, exactly.
It was probably Geordi.
Yeah,
but the universe has only ever contained Beverly.
This is one of those episodes where I'm like, okay, this is a really fun sci-fi concept. I don't think there's much more you could do with this concept, so I'm glad that they did it. And I like this one. I also like that we get more about the Traveler.
I like the Traveler.
Like, we saw him in that one episode in season 1.
Yep.
And he was a cool character. And, you kind of got it was implied then that, this is, Wesley's going to transcend all human form and all this shit. And
Wesley even gets the weird effect.
Yeah.
I feel like this is why I don't like this episode, though. It's a return to form on Wesley being this fucking wunderkind.
Yeah,
it's like,
special.
He's been normal for a couple seasons. Do we really need to go back to this? Now he's got the Shining? Come on.
Yeah, I know the Traveler was added last minute to find a way out of the episode that it was just a dream or something like that. Well, and I know Will Wheaton has tried to defend Wesley as much as possible because so much of it is people saying Wesley saves the day too often. But I think he actually nearly destroys the ship way more often than he saves it.
That's true.
Well,
and Wesley nearly destroys
equal.
the ship here like he does an awful fucking lot.
No, he just nearly killed his mother.
Yeah, he nearly kills his mother.
Yes,
The
and also
ship would have been
pocket
fine.
dimension ship.
Yeah, but she created that, so technically she broke that ship. She did make that ship. Okay, fair
Oh
enough.
yeah, Engineer Crusher.
Well, it does explain why are there parts of the ship missing? Because her brain is just dealing with that.
Yeah, and they
fuck
bring
up.
in the Traveler, and they're basically trying to contact Bev with Ouija board.
Ooh.
Yeah, like I said, there was
They're like,
definitely
this is outside of mathematics and into weird mythical shit that the Traveler only knows exists.
They did have a vague, like I had said while we were watching it, poltergeist vibe.
I don't even say vague. That effect that they used for the vortex is exactly the effect that they used.
See, I haven't seen it in so long.
It looks so similar. Yeah.
Well, thank God there were no creepy coming to life.
I want instead of the Traveler, it's this little old lady that shows up and she's like, "Come towards the light. This house is clean."
Oh, the guy in this is to do with the episode, actually. So Quace is awesome. I recognized him. He is in Home Alone. You know, in Home Alone, when Mom is trying desperately to get home and she's trying to trade earrings and a fake Rolex and a ticket and $500 cash money to an old lady to get her and her husband's tickets back to Chicago, or as close to Chicago as she can get. Well, the guy, the husband of the woman who is taking all of Mrs. McAllister's shit for her tickets, is Quace.
I remember this guy, yeah.
Come on, Maureen, they're boarding. She's got plenty of earrings and dangly ones, and that's basically that's his whole.
I have a feeling all of Home Alone is the same plot as this, and Kevin just created his own bubble.
Word bubble.
Sorry.
And that's why his parents no longer exist.
I actually thought that too. It's really funny you said that. I thought that. I was like, wow, so they must have thought that he made a bubble, whatever. I thought the same thing when we were watching it.
It's a shame there weren't creatures in the warp bubble that she had to fend off with some homemade traps.
Or at least a furnace. Oh no, Beverly.
The warp engine.
Oh.
The little door for the dilithium chamber could have flapped open and closed.
Yeah. She used a
and it was around the same
blowtorch on it
time
to make it hot.
And it was around the same time too, because this was October of 1990-ish.
Yeah.
And Home Alone, I would guess, came out somewhere in the holiday season of 90. I know it was 1990. I assume the holiday season because it's a Christmas movie, but I could be wrong about that. And if I am wrong about that, whoever did that was stupid. But anyway, I digress.
Bill Irwin is the actor's name.
Yep.
Oh, he was also in another John Candy film.
Which one?
Planes, Trains, and Automobiles.
Holy shit, who was he in Planes, Trains?
I don't know. I'm going to look that up.
Holy
I guess
shit.
people don't think of Home Alone
no, I
as
know
a
who he
John
was.
Candy
He's
film.
on the plane. He's on the plane with John Candy and Steve Martin, I
He's
think.
just always on planes
He's asleep.
or at airports.
He's asleep. He falls asleep, leaning up against, I think that Steve Martin is between the old man and John Candy on the flight, and they're both kind of just sleeping and leaning on him.
Man, this dude had a prolific career. He has 237 acting credits on his.
Holy crap! It's so funny.
A lot of bullshit. He was in, for example, Chairman of the Board with. With Carrot Top.
Yeah.
Oh.
I presume he always
being in a movie with Carrot
pays
Top
the
probably
bills.
used to be a good thing.
I presume he always played basically the same role, at least.
An old guy.
At least
An old doctor who disappears in a pocket universe?
Yes, exactly.
Discount
Precisely
Wilford
that.
Brimley.
Yes. I was wondering, how this guy is, Bev's hero and everything.
His old mentor.
How is he your hero when McCoy is still alive?
Well, because she actually interned into this guy or something.
Yeah, McCoy probably hasn't practiced medicine in a while.
That's true. He's just having his mint juleps on some planet with Natira.
Did he ever really practice medicine?
Don't you badmouth Bones.
I'm not. I
Yeah, but his
love
medicine was
Bones,
terrible.
but
You're both monsters.
just because you're blind to listen, we would both have sex with McCoy, not even just for the street cred, but because we would enjoy it.
What if we
McCoy.
broke an arm, we'd go to somebody else immediately.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, who, Bev?
No, I'd go to the Talarians. They seem to know how to patch
That's
people
true,
up.
yeah.
Phlox. I would trust Phlox.
All right, so
Is Fox still alive?
what else about this?
Nothing.
Fantastic.
We
We
don't
haven't
know
talked
how
about this
long
episode for like
Denobulans
20
live.
minutes.
They might live 200 years. More than 200 years.
Maybe.
But yeah, it was an interesting concept, and
Yeah, it was a good
the
concept. It was
concept
well
is really
executed.
like I said, I think it is. I think it's just that I don't really love Crusher, so I was kind of like, ugh.
Yeah, it's interesting because this is probably the first and one of the few Crusher-centered episodes you get.
Yeah.
The only other real big Crusher episode that I can think of offhand is arguably the worst episode of Star Trek.
Oh, God. I don't know the title of that one. I know the one you mean.
Yeah, or not.
And she actually gave us a good range, too, because she, like, seriously went full, like, Lady Macbeth out damn spot at some point. Like, I felt like she was really, like, getting a little cuckoo nuts, and I liked it. I thought it was a really, like, she was not phoning it in. I'm not saying that it wasn't Patrick Stewart levels of mental breakdown, but she was doing good work.
Yeah.
So I'll give that to her. I thought it was good work she did.
Showed some chops this time.
Yeah, for sure.
I know that this plot, they want to... When we did Family last week, the one where Picard wrestles in the mud with his buddy, with his bro, originally, instead of having all family episodes, they really wanted to, like, somehow wedge in an actual sci-fi plot. And this was an option for a sci-fi plot to wedge in, and they realized, no, this is too big a plot to wedge into the Picard also having another plot. Let's come up with two smaller family B-plots.
But the thing is, too, though, is that this is still family-centric-ish, because...
Both of these were.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, she thinks up the whole pocket dimension because she's afraid of losing people, which is why she'd look at Wesley ever. I don't know.
Well, for all that concern, like I said, when she popped out of the vortex, Wesley is crumpled to fuck next to a console. And
Oh, Traveler, are you okay?
Yeah. Did you do this? Wesley's like, my everything.
No, he caused this, that monster.
Wesley?
Yeah.
Yeah, fuck him.
Wow.
Alright, well...
Cool. All right, is that all we got for these?
That's what I
think it is.
Yeah.
All right. Well, in that case, I'll just move on with the outro.
Such a smooth segue, Jake.
I like to segue. So next week, we continue with Family Matters. On A Star to Steer Her By, we're going to talk about 2 episodes. Legacy, in which another family-related episode. We meet a relative of one of our...
Dearly departed.
People.
Lore.
We meet Lore's brother, Data.
Whoa!
And then
And they did do the switcheroo. You guys didn't even notice that I was in his math class and he was in my enterprise.
in Reunion, another family-related episode, and we're going to deal again with some of Worf's Klingon legal troubles.
Oh, fun.
He didn't file his taxes on time.
Yeah, apparently.
Gotta pay excise
Discommendation does not save you from your liability to the state.
He didn't register his dog. Has to get the rabies shot.
His Targ.
Yes.
His
So,
Targ.
so those will be coming up. Some more Family Matters next week on A Star to Steer Her By. Of course, you should like our podcast on Facebook. So just go to there and find us, Star to Steer Her By. You can find us on Twitter and Tumblr. Download the podcast, iTunes, Google Hangouts.
Google Play.
Google Play Hangouts. Hangouts is a different thing.
Hangouts is the chat program.
Google Wave us. Remember Google Wave?
I do not.
I didn't
Is
understand.
that the thing that people do at sporting events?
No, it was like, it's hard to explain what it was. It's kind of like Slack a little bit, I guess.
I don't know what that is either, but go on.
The chat program.
Anyway. SoundCloud.
It's like a mix between docs and chat and email.
No one understood what to do with it, so it died.
that's basically what happened.
So it was sort of like a proto Drive.
No.
Because Drive is like that. You can have chats within your documents.
Yeah, I guess it's sort of like that. Anyway.
Okay, go on.
Point is, we're also there on Star Trek.
Yes.
And any other place you get an iTunes. And give us a rate and a review. 5 or fewer stars. Or if they offer more stars, you can do that too.
Conversely, 1 or more stars.
1 or greater
Hack
number of
your
stars.
way in until you can allow for more
I
stars.
guilted people a few weeks ago on this show about this. Did anybody do it?
I haven't checked.
No.
What?
Give us more
We should
ratings.
at least, if we're going to make people feel shitty, we should at least check.
Is he still fucking... How long does it take you to cut your grass, you prick?
Wow. Cutting
What
that.
a prick.
Jake us out, quickly.
All right. Well, this has been Star to Steer Her By, and my name has been Jake.
This has been Chris.
This has been Ames.
And this is always Caitlin.
I swear to God, I'm sabotaging that lawnmower.
Yikes.
Good night,
He's been
Seattle!
at it for an hour and 10 minutes.
Eggs.